Joining us in studio to talk about this proposal and its impact on us and the climate is Greg Morrison, executive producer of Bumper to Bumper TV. Thank you so much for joining us this
morning. My honor to be here. Good morning to you both.
Thanks for staying with us, Greg. Now, these new rules, they're kind of confusing because people are saying, well, as they have always said, with any type of change or regulation like this, oh, this is going to just ruin the car industry. It's so tough. There's no way manufacturers can meet these goals.
They can meet them. In fact, if anything, the auto industry sort of sat on its hands when the technology first became available in the mid-90s. Toyota sort of experimented with a lead-acid battery and said, nah, it's not going to work. But there has to be a will within the auto manufacturing side, the research side, and also long-term planning. One of the things that's happening now is all of the manufacturers are trying to buy up battery plants and battery companies so they can have batteries for future electrified vehicles. The downside to that is also the issue of chips and rare earth metals. The good news is the technology is evolving to the point where we're using fewer rare earth metals in EV batteries, so you're not having to rape the earth, so to speak, for these supplies. And we're also seeing that batteries that have sort of outlived their usefulness as automobile batteries can now be repurposed as backup batteries for homes. So there's a way to do it, but just had to sort of push the industry along.
And before this proposal, there were actually a lot of major car companies that had already made pledges to do a certain number of their fleet being electric vehicles. Before this is just going to push them even farther in that direction?
Oh, very much so. In fact, who was one of the automakers, Volkswagen, for the next 6 or 7 years, you're going to see more EVs coming from that brand than internal combustion engine vehicles. They just showed off a beautiful sedan. They're going to be showing off the new version of the Volkswagen Love Bus in a few weeks. These are all electric vehicles. General Motors, starting with trucks and also smaller vehicles, they're moving in that direction. Ford, as we all know, with the Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E, they're moving in that direction. Stellantis, which is the new name for Chrysler, they're going to have a fully electric Ram truck. So they're getting there, but as I said, it just took a long time. You almost had to push them to say, take the first step. You know what it reminds me of? When we first went to unleaded fuel and catalytic converters in cars. I'm showing my age there, but
I remember leaded gas. I do remember that.
Yeah. But those are the kind of things that will happen. And the other side of it is the electric utility industry also has to change how it does business, because they're going to have to provide the infrastructure to support charging stations. They're going to have to provide the infrastructure for home charging. And how do they generate the power, and can they cut down on their emissions? While automobiles are a big source, electric power plants are also another big source of air pollution.
And with this latest infrastructure bill that they put forward to encourage this, it's actually kind of a nice shot in the arm to American automakers too, because there's a big push to say, hey, if you buy this car, this EV from a domestic producer, you get a bigger tax credit than perhaps a foreign manufacturer.
That's true. Plus, there's a two-sided benefit to that. The manufacturer gets a tax benefit, but also you as the consumer, there's a $7,500 federal tax credit for you. So the idea is to get people more accustomed to EVs and doing that on a regular basis. I'm getting ready to install an EV charger at my home. I don't even have a garage, but I've got a driveway. In the next 5 to 10 years, as more new homes are built, do not be surprised if you see EV chargers built in as part of the process.
That's true. You'll see it on the real estate listing. So let's talk about the environmental impact of this proposal.
Do you like the air you breathe?
Absolutely.
Do you want it to be clean?
I think we all do.
You're getting ready to have a child. We all have children. We want this to be clean for our children. If we can reduce auto emissions by 25, 30%, think what the quality of the air is like. You know, I can go to numbers and this, that, and the other, but the impact will be the better quality of life, not only for future generations, but for those of us who stick around and hang out in our urban centers, because that's where we tend to have most of the auto emissions hanging over them, like valleys like Atlanta, Los Angeles. You cut that by 25%, it changes the world. Think of what LA looked like during the height of the pandemic when nobody was driving. They actually saw the sky for the first time.
And Greg, we have 30 seconds left here. What do you say to the naysayers saying there's no way I have range anxiety, I drive too often, this is just, you know, the woke people pushing me towards this, I'm never going to give up my car?
There will still be internal combustion engine vehicles available. There'll be fewer and fewer of them. And one of the things that will happen is you'll see fewer and fewer gas stations and more charging stations. It can be done. To the naysayers, you can either lead, follow, or get out of the way, because it's coming.
Yep. Change is coming. All right, thank you so much. It's Greg Morrison with Bumper to Bumper TV. Thanks for joining us this morning and great information.
My pleasure.